Welcome to the first Wonder Dream podcast. In this podcast, we'll go through the state of the DC from Jared Leto apparently leaving as the Joker, Ben Affleck, who is currently left as Batman, and Henry Cavill, who is left as Superman. We will go through all the current stuff that is online, and I'll go through it all, and I'll give you my own personal opinions alongside what other people have said, and we'll dive more into what is happening with DC at this current moment in time. So let's begin with what fans really think of Jared Leto's Joker. Well, I've dived into a lot of online material of what fans personally think of Jared Leto's Joker. Obviously, as you currently know, critics have overwhelmingly rejected just about everything which did actually happen in Suicide Squad, but audiences drowned out, these negative reviews by showing up en masse anyway. Finding once again that the franchise temples do not necessarily live and die by their critical reception. This is just something which Looper has critically said about it. A lot of people do like Jared Leto's Joker, but they dislike the look. Now, I kind of do agree with this, but there is quite a lot of similarities to Jared Leto's Joker to that in the comic book material. Obviously, the thing which I didn't like was the tattoos, which a lot of other fans didn't like about Jared Leto's Joker, especially the damage tattoo which was on his head, which the director David Ayer also agreed that went over the top using that tattoo. But first, the bad news. The history of Leto's ascension to the clown-faced throne was stored and kind of gross, which Looper has said. The Oscar winner is a well-known method actor, so when it comes to prepping for the role, he isolated himself from the rest of the cast and surfaced only to send his co-stars bizarre gifts, which obviously we know because he sent a rat to Will Smith, I think, and he sent some dead objects to Margaret Robbie. We don't know if it's true, but it was reported that he did this, so he actually went above and beyond and method act, which Heath Ledger also did for The Dark Knight. He isolated himself in a hotel for a week. He had no contact with anyone, and he wrote a journal, which you can actually view. The journal for it is online, and it's pretty dark. He had some pretty dark thoughts was doing that. But there was also the matter of his slim screen time. This I was pretty annoyed at and all, and a lot of fans were annoyed at this because Suicide Squad, obviously Warner Brothers promoted the film as it being more focused upon the Joker, but when it actually came to actually watching the film, he had about 12 minutes screen time. Another common complaint was to the people who didn't love Leto's parts in the movie. Personally, I saw quite a lot of similarities to a couple of the Jokers in the comic books, especially the Joker in the Endgame comic book, which kind of gave me an idea that's the kind of role that Jared Leto wanted to go down with his specific Joker. So obviously, because I've already delved into quite a lot of comic books, and I know the ins and the outs of each Joker, from Endgame to New Earth. So I think he's taken some elements from each section and then he's mashed it into his own specific perspective, and he's used that, which I quite like. Obviously, a lot of people will probably disagree with me on this one, but I prefer Jared Leto's Joker over Heath Ledger's. The reason for this is because Heath Ledger's was not the Joker. To me, after reading all the comic books, I've read all the comic books, I've delved into the Joker's character. To me personally, Heath Ledger's Joker wasn't the Joker. It was more of a mobster, which people are going to disagree with me. They'll probably say, no, Jared Leto's Joker was the mobster. Personally, some people will probably agree with me. But Heath Ledger's Joker was, how can I put this? It was off topic. It just wasn't the Joker. Like I said, some parts was, but it was a bit over the top. Obviously, like I said, he did, because he method acted, and obviously, like I said, he locked himself away. So he's basically done what Jared Leto did in a sense, but it's like he didn't know the Joker properly, whereas Jared Leto did, because obviously he's read the comics, and he's delved into it. As you can tell, that he's trying to get across the Endgame Joker. That's obviously the Joker which he was trying to portray, and he was trying to get across to the fans, whereas Heath Ledger's Joker doesn't correspond to any of the Jokers whatsoever in any of the comic books, and I've read quite a lot of them, and his Joker just doesn't fit with any of the comic book material. That's why, to me, personally, his Joker isn't that. But another thing which fans, well, mainly critics, have disagreed with is that it was too creepy. This I just don't understand. The Joker's supposed to be creepy, and the critics are basically shat all over Jared Leto's Joker for being too creepy, when the Joker is supposed to be creepy. Yeah, I didn't understand that, because it's supposed to be creepy, whereas obviously Heath Ledger's wasn't. Yeah, I don't know where to stand on that one. basically it was what Looper had gone above. They said Leto's Joker is the fact that he was at times pretty chilling to watch, considering he wasn't given the plot job, the main villain, whereas Cara Delevingne's entrance was instead the movie's big bad guy. Some found that he did a solid enough job of freaking everyone out and made good of use of his disappointing limited screen time. I agree with this. Obviously, if given more screen time, it probably could have been a pretty decent Joker. And, you know, if the script was written better and he had a better written script, it could have been a darn good Joker. But obviously, it got mixed reviews because obviously, you know, he had limited screen time, and, you know, the screen time that he did have didn't really give us anything new. It just didn't give us anything new, really. And overall, obviously, it was a mixed bag, especially for, you know, the critics. And you basically chatting all over him. Let's move on there to Jared Leto getting his own movie, which was reported in June last year. We did find out that Jared Leto was supposed to be doing a standalone film, which would feature Margaret Robbie as Harley Quinn, which was supposed to be like a Dr. Phil, like, therapy-like film. No details was given, but it was just saying there was supposed to be filmed like that. It was also supposed to feature in Birds of a Prey, but that's now dead in the water because apparently Jared Leto's, it's not been confirmed, but apparently is stepping down as the Joker. Nothing official has been said, but with nothing official come about it, and Jared Leto currently working on Marvel's Morbius and not being on the set of Birds of a Prey, this has given us an idea that he's stepped down. He's basically just said, right, yeah, you know, because you didn't promise me what they didn't promise him what they was going to give him in Suicide Squad, and because they cut most of his scenes and cut it all out, I think he's just given up on it and just said, no, you know, find someone else. This is where it comes in handy for Joaquin Phoenix, where his standalone Joker origin films, which comes out in October, might come into play. They could, if that does well when it comes out in October, they could completely just say, right, yeah, Jared Leto doesn't want it out, they'll scrap him, and then they'll use Joaquin Phoenix's Joker in future films. Or because the Batman films currently wanting to use a younger Batman than what Ben Affleck's was, they could just completely just get a younger actor to play the Joker. Obviously nothing's official yet, I'm just, you know, looking up reports and just, you know, saying what it is, what I can currently see. As I said, is Jared Leto actually done as the Joker? You know, what are your thoughts on this? Obviously my thoughts is I'm a bit annoyed because, you know, if he'd given the right script, you know, given enough screen time, you know, I personally think he could have pulled off a good Joker, because, you know, the scenes which he did have in Suicide Squad I did quite enjoy. Obviously, you know, with limited screen time, you know, it did feel a little bit rushed, obviously, but, you know, that's the editing for you. Obviously they would have edited it down, the scenes would have been a lot longer. You know, they've edited it down and chopped it down, and, you know, it looks bad from, you know, editing side of things. So I think that's the reason there. But obviously it's a rumour and a speculation to the point that, you know, he has exited, but he hasn't officially said, oh yeah, I've stepped down as the Joker. So we're not really too sure about this, but we do know about Suicide Squad 2, which is coming out in 2021. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, with the Batman film, it will be released a couple of months before the Batman film. Now, if Jared Leto's going to be in this, we do not know, because we do know that James Gunn has a dislike to Jared Leto. I'm not going to go into the statistics of that, but, you know, if you've read reports, you know that James Gunn dislikes Jared Leto, so that pretty much chucks Jared Leto out as the Joker in the water. It's like, no, he's but he did say he's doing a reboot, and it's already been confirmed that Will Smith isn't going to be coming back as Deadshot. Yeah, Deadshot. Harley Quinn, Margaret Robbie, apparently isn't coming back either. She is listed online as being in the film, but obviously anyone can edit that. She hasn't officially confirmed that, but if Birds of a Prey does well, they're obviously going to greenlight a sequel for that, so they'll continue using Harley Quinn for that, and they'll scrap her for Suicide Squad 2. There's also the Gotham City Sirens movie, which apparently has now been completely axed. They've axed that alongside the 2 standalone Joker films, which Jared Leto was supposed to have been doing, but obviously at the moment they're currently filming the Birds of Prey film, but there's been no sign of Jared Leto on set, because obviously she's supposed to break up with the Joker, so I don't know how they're going to play that without Jared Leto. They'll probably just, you never know, there might be some scenes within Suicide Squad which they didn't use, and then they might cut it into Birds of Prey. We'll just have to see when that film comes out next year. But regarding to Jared Leto being done as the Joker, probably the biggest evidence which can back this up and it's true is that Jared Leto is currently, you know, filming Marvel's Spider-Man spin-off Morbius, which is currently already filming. So this kind of speculates like, yeah, he's done with the Joker, because they're currently filming Birds of a Prey. You know, they're getting ready to film the Batman film, they're getting ready to film Suicide Squad 2. you know, and then you've got the standalone Joaquin Phoenix Joker origin solo film which is coming out, so that kind of does speculate, and it kind of confirms that he's back down, but like I said, he hasn't officially said that he's backing down as the Joker. And another factor which might play into this is the Me Too movement. Obviously, the Joker is abusing to Harley Quinn, which comes into this, and the fact with the Birds of Prey title, the Birds of Prey and the Immaculation of One Harley Quinn, there has been rumours that there's going to be a Harley versus Joker film that they're currently working on. Apparently script's been done for it, but obviously no official word from Warner Brothers upon this now. But with no Harley Quinn and Joker movie, no Gotham Sirens, you know, and Harley Quinn's only going to be in Birds of Prey, as we know for now. She's confirmed that she's not going to be in Suicide Squad 2 by the looks of it. So, you know, with Matt Reeves wanting a younger Batman for his film, obviously Jared Leto won't feature in any of those, so it's come to terms that he probably has backed down. And obviously, like I said, Joaquin Phoenix is doing a film, but that's based in the 80s as an origin Joker film. So if they brought him in as a replacement for Jared Leto, it wouldn't work, because Joaquin Phoenix is Joker. If they're doing it that way, in the 80s, Batman is only like 12 years old, so it's taking place just after the death of his mum and dad. So if they were going to get Joaquin Phoenix to replace Jared Leto, it wouldn't work out, because Joaquin Phoenix would have to be about 70. So it wouldn't work out. So on that note, let's have a look at some other stuff which I've found on here. So I've gone through Jared Leto, you know, he's going to, you know, it's officially said that he's gone, and, you know, the Joker movie is definitely not happening. That's pretty much been confirmed. But the real question is, where did it all go wrong for Jared Leto's Joker? Well, like I said, limited screen time, a bad script was given, which, you know, pretty much gave his Joker no chance from the start with that bad script and limited screen time, which is maybe one of the reasons, because of a mixed review from critics, and, you know, most fans liked him, but then there's some fans that didn't. I think this is the reasons why Warner Brothers has cut his solo movie in the Joker and Harley Quinn spin-off, and that's why it's been abandoned permanently. And that's why the soft reboot in Suicide Squad with James Gunn at the helm as director. With the Todd Phillips forthcoming Joker film as Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, that's obviously another, you know, confirmation that they could be down and out for the cut. Let's talk about one of the Joker Leto's spin-off film, which has been reported saying that it sounds like an actual Joker. Apparently it was supposed to have been a cross between Bad Santa, and this is obviously, if you've watched those, then it's supposed to be a cross between those, and it was supposed to also feature Dr. Phil. It's been reported on Esquire. I'll just read this out. It states, it was sort of like we wrote Bad Santa a couple of years ago, and it was that sensibility mixed with This Is Us sensibility. We kind of meshed them together. We're doing a relationship movie, but with the sensibility of Bad Santa, fucked up, mentally deranged people. It was a lot of fun. That's obviously from the person who wrote the scripts, which was Glenn Ficora and John Require, that wrote that script, which obviously has now been scrapped. I don't know how I feel on that, because Bad Santa was a bad film. In general, it was just terrible, and This Is Us wasn't. I think that's a TV series, mistake me if I'm wrong. I haven't watched that, so I wouldn't know how they were going to go there. And the fact that they said that the script also mentions that it starts with Harley Quinn kidnapping Dr. Phil because her and the Joker are having problems with the relationship. Now, this film probably would take place before Birds of Prey, so if they were going to go ahead with it, you would have thought they would have filmed this first before Birds of Prey, and then they'd split the Joker and Harley Quinn up. So this is another kind of confirmation, you know, this is why it's been scrapped, because they've scrapped that and they're just jumping straight onto Birds of Prey. But the real question is, now that fans are probably answering and the querying, is what happens to Jared Leto's Joker now? Obviously, with no official confirmation that Jared Leto's stepped down, you know, the real answer is, what happens? You know, have they just scrapped him? Are they actually going to use him? With no official confirmation, you know, we're probably all thinking, what happens? Well, obviously, like I've stated quite a lot of times, you know, with the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie coming soon, you know, what does officially happen to Jared Leto? Will he return? Will he be replaced? Or even something even more shocking, they might actually kill him off. You know, we know official, you know, stuff. We don't know what's happening, but obviously we've known for some time now that Joaquin Phoenix would star in an Ellsworth tale about the Joker. Obviously, we've seen screenshots, videos, and all that's been posted online, you know, of the filming over October to Christmas time. So, you know, what are they going to do? You know, they can't just ignore the fact that Joker happened. You know, they can't just say, oh yeah, he was in it for 12 minutes in Suicide Squad. You know, his Joker didn't didn't happen. You know, he needs his own film, you know, so then he can cement his Joker. I mean, because 12 minutes on screen time, it might have been 10 actually, probably 10 to 12 minutes. It's not enough, you know, they might as well as just not had the Joker in the film, because it was pretty pointless. And then, you know, not giving him anything after that's pretty much a kick in the balls, to be honest. But as I said, the Jared Leto's take on the Joker was like most of the DC extended universe is problems. It wasn't down to the fact of Jared Leto, like I've said, it's down to the fact the bad writing, the very limited screen time, and you know, all his scenes being cut. You know, this is a problem that DC currently has at the moment. You know, they're giving their actors the free way to, you know, do all this stuff, and then when it comes around to editing, Warner Brothers are like, no, cut this, cut that. This is the problem that DC are currently having, and this is why the extended universe is currently failing. Obviously, Aquaman's kind of redeemed it in a way. Obviously, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't comment on that yet. But obviously, it made over $1 billion at the box office, and they've already greenlit a sequel for 2022. So, and they've already announced a Trench spin-off as well. So I think they're gonna backtrack a couple of things. But like I said, you know, Aquaman's kind of saved the DC extended universe. But I think, in a way, they need to get rid of the DC extended universe, and they need to reboot it. They need to completely start afresh, because if they're going down this line, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, I'm a bit divided about Harley Quinn's new look for Birds of Prey. I've seen pictures of it that's been posted online, and it looks terrible. It really does. And you know, some of the costume designs, it doesn't look like that film's going to do pretty well. But you know, we'll wait and see. You know, they can edit it to make it look better, but I personally think that film's going to flop. So we'll just have to wait and see. But now the Ellsworth Joker tale is said to be low budget, as we know. Apparently, it's got a $55 million budget, and obviously the leaked set videos and all that supports that, because you know, there's no CGI or action set pieces to speak of. So you know, we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. And then obviously Warner Brothers, hopefully, then will give us an answer to what's happening, you know, with the Joker, in sense of are they just going to bring him back into it as a younger Joker with a younger Batman in the Batman film? Are they going to bring Jared Leto back, or are they just going to scrap him, or are they going to use Joaquin Phoenix? But like I said, if they use Joaquin Phoenix, it wouldn't fit, because he'd have to be like 70 odd years old. You know, it wouldn't fit pretty well. So the real question is, what is the likely outcome of all of this? Well, if there's one thing Warner Brothers can be counted on for it, you know, they're pretty much panicking in the backtracking films. So, you know, if the Joker film in October, the Origins film, is a huge success, you know, we can expect one of three things to happen to Leto. One, he may be replaced by a new actor for the release of the Batman film. However, the above scenario is, that's pretty a bit extreme. But what is more likely is that they redo Jared Leto's Joker. You know, Suicide Squad and the Joker were major, you know, money makers for Warner Brothers, especially in merch sales. You know, it made over $750 million at the box office. You know, with Leto's Joker still being, you know, favourite cosplay, you know, even it's been nearly 3 years since the release of that, and everyone's still, you know, dressing up as that Joker. You know, they're going to Comic Cons dressing up as, you know, Leto's Joker, so it's still really popular. So his removal is likely not on the cards, you know. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they just redesign him a little bit. You know, I'd like to, you know, just get, you know, the easiest way to redesign him is completely get rid of his tattoos. That's the first thing. Get rid of his tattoos, give him some eyebrows, you know, give him redder lips because they were a little bit dark. Get rid of his teeth grills, maybe keep his hand tattoo because that looked pretty cool, but the rest of the tattoos completely get rid of. You know, give him eyebrows because, you know, he's got no eyebrows, which looks a bit odd. And then obviously make his lips a bit more red, and then maybe a little smudged, and then get rid of the teeth grills. And I think, you know, you're a winner there. You know, and then if Gerald, you know, they give him a good script, and, you know, they don't cut a lot of the stuff off, and, you know, they give him a lot of freedom, I think, you know, it'll work out really, really, really well. Well, that's what I'm hoping. That's what I hope anyway. I'm hoping they don't drop him, because I think if given, you know, I've stated quite a couple of times, if they give him a decent script, I think he can pull it off pretty well. And, you know, if they just redesign his Joker a little bit, like I've just said, you know, no tattoos and that, you know, give him better suits. I mean, his suits that he wore, you know, the costumes were pretty decent. So, you know, just keep along that line, and I think they'll be onto a winner there. So I've babbled on enough about Jared Leto's Joker now. Let's move on to some other aspects of why DC Extended Universe is failing, you know, linking a couple other things. But one of the things I did want to ask is, who do you want to personally see as the next Batman? Obviously, it's been reported that Armie Hammer would be the Batman. Obviously, he's 32 years old, and obviously there was a picture that put up with Armie Hammer donning the Batman Rebirth suit, and people are saying it's incredible. You know, all the fans and that are wanting him to be the next Batman. Obviously, nothing's officially confirmed, but you know, who would you like to see as the next Batman? Obviously, I'm a bit devised on it. You know, I've got a couple of people in mind that I think could pull off. You know, if they're going for a younger Batman and whatnot, I've got a couple of ideas who could play Batman. Obviously, Richard Madden, I think he could pull off a really good Batman. Obviously, you've also, if you've been watching Supergirl, Tyler Hoechlin, who plays Superman, he could pull off a good Batman, but then again, he pulls off a decent Superman, so they could use him as a replacement for Superman with Henry Cavill stepping down. Obviously, I think Liam Hemsworth might play a decent Batman. I've seen a couple of his films and all that, so, you know, he's 6'3", apparently. I don't know. But, you know, and obviously, you know, he could probably pull off a good version of Batman struggling with heroism, like in Batman Earth 1. If you've seen it, I think Liam Hemsworth would pull off a good Batman Earth 1 Batman. Obviously, there's also Josh Hartnett, I think would pull off a good Batman, although he's 39 and they did say they wanted a younger Batman, so I don't think that would work. But the idea I would have with his Batman would be where it's focusing on, if you've ever seen Batman Murderer, the comic for that, I think he'd fit well for a storyline of revolving around Batman Murderer. Obviously Jake Gyllenhaal, I think, would probably pull off a good Batman. Obviously he's older and all, but like it has been reported the director that's doing the Batman film wants a younger Batman in his late 20s. But you know, I'm just shooting at ideas here on, you know, personally I think they'll be able to pull it off. But apparently they offered the Joker role to Jake Gyllenhaal before Jared Leto, but he rejected it, and he went on to do La La Land instead, which was a critical success. And obviously Gyllenhaal's already currently starring as Mysterio in the next Spider-Man film, so I don't think that would work. But that in mind, Gyllenhaal, I think, if it was a storyline around a psychological tale of emotional struggle, like in Batman: A Death in the Family, and you know, giving Gyllenhaal and you know his hard-headed badass teen, you know, I think he'd pull that off if they did like a Death in the Family storyline, and maybe we saw Jason Todd in it, you know, the Joker killing Jason Todd. I think that'd be a storyline which would work quite well. And then obviously the reported one, which I think Armie Hammer, which I think he'd pull off a decent enough role. I have seen him some of his work, you know, like he was in this like Social Network. He also was in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I saw. So he does have that, you know, that Batman-esque kind of acting, so he could pull it off if anything. But like, there's a storyline which I think, you know, if they were going to go with Armie Hammer, I think they should do a storyline where we can have Robin featured, and you know, a really good story that they could go along there is Batman Dark Victory. They could go along that storyline and include Robin. The reason for this is because the story is more of an in-depth look at, you know, Dick Grayson's origin, you know, and in turn we get to see a different side of Batman. So I think that'd be a storyline that, which, you know, that's another storyline which they should go down. And also we'll get answers to why, you know, Dick decided to become Robin, and then you can explore the relationships between Bruce and Dick, which that's a, you know, a fantastic opportunity, you know, for an emotional story, and you know, a decent film. You know, if they script it properly and use the comic book material, you know, it's something that can be done. And obviously Matt Reeves, you know, we've seen what that has done, you know, Let Me In, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. You know, if he can script it like that, you know, script it properly, you know, and pick the right story to go with, I think it'd be a pretty decent Batman film. But also some notable honours which I said, which could pull off a decent Batman. You've got Scott Eastwood. I think he'd pull off a good youthful Bruce Wayne. Obviously he's been from Fury to Pacific Rim Uprising, you know, he's been in some decent films, but he was actually in Suicide Squad. He played a guard in the film, so you know, he's already been in DC literally, you know, in the background, and you know, he's 32 and also, you know, he's the perfect age to play young Batman. You know, he could pull that off. There's a couple of comic books which come in mind which I think they could use for, you know, a young, because obviously he wants to go down, Matt Reeves has stated he wants to go down a younger route Batman. Now there's a couple of comics which come in mind. Obviously you've got Batman No Man's Land, but obviously Gotham's doing that, so you know, they're probably not going to go that. But you've also got Batman Year 2, which is a decent comic, which they could go down that route and that storyline. I don't think they do a Haunted Night one. I mean, Batman Haunted Night's a decent comic. I don't think they'll go down that route, but you've got, Batman Year 2, Batman Year 3. They could do that 2-year jump, Year 2 and Year 3. They could do like a comic down, they could do a storyline to fit in between, those two comics. But then you've got War Games, which I think is a decent comic, which they could pull a storyline off that if written properly. I'd like to see like a darker, edgier Batman, though. Like if you've ever read the Batman comic, Batman Gothic, or Batman Son of the Demon, I think that, they need to portray a darker Batman, because I know that the DC Extended Universe, they're trying to pull off this dark look, but then they've got that bubbly, pop culture thing going on, the flashy colours and, like it was in Suicide Squad. I think they need to dim it down a bit, have it more, dark, which, I know a lot of critics did complain, saying, the DC's, the films are too dark. Well, that's how they're supposed to be. That's how the comics are. They are dark, so that's why the films have been dark. But because they've been scripted really badly, this is why the DC Extended Universe is failing. But another few comic book notable ideas, which I think would fit in well to the current Extended Universe, would be Batman Nightfall, an excellent example of comic book, which if put to film it'd be brilliant. Would Batman Nightfall. Batman Tales of the Demons also a decent one, which it's not as good as Nightfall, but it's a good read, and they could pull out a couple of things onto there, but like because they wanting to go down the route of a younger Batman. Some of these comics, they happen later on, like Jason Todd's already dead and whatnot, they're in different worlds, they're in different Elseworlds, they don't take place in the same worlds, they're all like different, like parallel universes and whatnot, so they take place in different routes. But I think they do need to, if they're using the younger route, Matt Reeves wants to use a younger Batman, then they're going to have to bring Robin into it, or Jason Todd. Obviously, they'd have to use Robin first, Dick Grayson, and then do a storyline on, the Joker killing Jason Todd, which is obviously death of a family. So it looks like they're going to go down that route. Well, obviously, we'll just see what they do with this Batman film. Obviously, nothing official has yet been confirmed. So we'll just go down that route and, we'll just have to see what happens. But like I said, there's a lot. I mean, I would have loved to seen, obviously, if Ben Affleck had stayed on and, Jared Leto, we don't know what's happening there. But if Ben Affleck had stayed on, I would have liked to see a Batman The Dark Knight Returns film where the Joker kills himself, the Batman and the Joker, they're a lot older, and then the Joker ends up killing himself. I would have loved to see a storyline like that, but that's obviously not going to happen now with Ben Affleck standing down, and then Warner Brothers Batman film, Matt Reeves wanting to use a younger Batman, so obviously that's not going to happen now. But I think that's the route that they were going to go down, in a couple of years' time, but obviously that's not going to happen now with Ben Affleck stepping down. So let's jump to the question that, this podcast is currently about, the current state of DC. My personal own opinion is the current state of DC is pretty much a betrayal of everything Rebirth, was supposed to be, if you know what I'm talking about there. Obviously, Rebirth was all about bringing DC back to what made DC special. Legacy characters, hopeful characters, family, 80 years of history to draw on, bringing the light back to the, the new 52 universe. But, what do we have now? Superman and Batman have broken families and weren't happy to be happy. They weren't allowed to be happy, should I say. Legacy characters, including Wally West, one of the main reasons Rebirth happened, killed for no reason. Roy Harper, dead. Dick Grayson's devolved to Rick. The events have literally all been about the dark heroes being broken and destroyed and killed instead of, spreading hope. And, almost 3 years later, and the three Jokers, Manhattan, the GSA, are all still big question marks. Personally, it's so shameful, the hope and the light is gone again. It could be because of the doomsday clock delays, but it feels like this is the worst state DC has been in since I'm talking comic books here, not the actual films. I'm talking comic books on top of the films. This is so I've been reading DC comic books since since I was like 5 or 6, since like you're talking to go 15 years or so here. So I used to love rushing to the comic book store every Wednesday or whatnot. Now I find it hard to care because the newer comics, they're really bad, they're really like dumbed down, but what are your opinions? Do you feel the same? Don't you feel the same? Do you think this is the reason why the DC Extended Universe is failing, because they're relying on this new comic book material that's bad? The whole Rebirth storyline, is this what's corresponding to the Extended Universe? Are they're relying on this, or is it down to the fact that Warner Brothers just don't know what to do with DC anymore? That's why they're spewing out films that are bad. It's barely down to the scripts. They're obviously hiring people that are not DC fans. Realistically, Warner Brothers need to hire script writers that know what they're doing. You know, they've read the comic book material. You know, they know what they're doing. You know, they've already made films and all that would do well, and you know, they know storylines which they can fit in with the extended universe, which you know would do well. Which, you know, I've already said a couple of, you know, comic books which would fit in with the extended universe, which, you know, Warner Brothers won't do. You know, we don't know what they're doing at the moment. Obviously, with the soft reboot of Suicide Squad, you know, for Suicide Squad 2, Birds of a Prey. There's a lot of things which come into mind, you know, when it comes to DC, you know, Warner Brothers, and, you know, what direction they're taking, you know, the DC films at the moment. Obviously, we know that at the moment, currently it's saying, right, you know, Aquaman did well, we're going to focus on Aquaman. Here's a sequel, here's a prequel, The Trench. They do well, we're going to spit out more. It looks like they're focusing on Aquaman more, you know, at the moment. That's what they're currently focusing on, because obviously they're focusing on Suicide Squad 2 as well, because, you know, that did pretty decent, and it, you know, it did pretty decent at the box office. But, you know, they're completely rebooting that with new characters by the looks of it. Obviously, Will Smith's not going to be in it. Looks like Margot Robbie's not going to be in it. Jared Leto's definitely not going to be in it because of James Gunn. So we don't know where they're going to take that. It's obviously going to be a new set of characters. There was a Batgirl film that was announced. Nothing new's been heard about that. I think that's obviously been scrapped and shelved, along with the, you know, the two Jared Leto solo films. Well, the one Jared Leto solo film and the Harley versus Joker film, or whatever it was supposed to have been. So, you know, what are your thoughts on this? You know, where do you see DC's, you know, where's Warner Brothers taking DC? Personally, I think they're basically putting it down the drain. A soft reboot might work, but because of how bad DC Extended Universe was, I don't think it's going to work out well. They need to get good scripts. They need to get people in, hire people that can write good scripts. You know, they know what they're doing. They've read the comic book material. You know, they're down and they have really good ideas, and they're like, right, this'll work, that'll work, right, this won't work. You know, they need to come to the conclusion, you know, that the extended universe is flopped. They need to put that to one side, right, yeah, get rid of it, you know, accept that was a mistake, and just move on and, you know, soft reboot it and start afresh. I think that's, you know, the only option that they've got at the moment, because the only way that they can carry on in the extended universe is through Aquaman and possibly Wonder Woman. We've got no Batman now, we've got no Superman. We're probably not going to see Superman now for quite a long time. That's probably down and out. They were supposed to do Man of Steel 2, but with Henry Cavill stepping down, that's not happening. Ben Affleck was supposed to do a Batman trilogy, but that's been scrapped. You know, one of those films Jared Leto was supposed to be in as the Joker, but obviously they've all been scrapped. So it's looking like they're either just going to completely stop doing Batman. You know, if this Batman film flops, obviously, like I said, they're doing a younger Batman, and apparently Matt Reeves wants to do a trilogy. He's got an idea. Obviously, we don't know what it is or what storylines he's going to go down, as long as it's not a Christopher Nolan trilogy, because don't get me wrong, those films were trash. I mean, I preferred the Tim Burton films, you know, obviously not Batman and, you know, was it Batman and Robin, which was the bad one? Or was it Batman Forever? I mean, they weren't bad films, you know, they were more upbeat and they weren't as dark, you know, I did enjoy them, but a lot of people didn't. Like, I think it was Batman Forever, it was the one where Arnold Schwarzenegger was in with Mr. Freeze. I think it was Batman Forever, or was it Batman and Robin? Because it had Poison Ivy in it. It's one of the two, I can't remember. It might have been Batman Forever was the Riddler one, so yeah, it was Batman and Robin, because it went Batman, then it went Batman Returns. There were the two Tim Burton films, which personally I feel are the better Batman films. They beat Christopher Nolan's trilogy by miles, you know, especially Batman, you know, the first one with the Joker in. That was just outstanding for the time, you know, what Tim Burton did, you know. That's what I mean. They could bring Tim Burton back. I mean, Tim Burton, you know, he's already done Batman and Batman Returns. You know, he could bring a lot to the table if they brought him back in as a director to, you know, script summit. You know, I think Tim Burton could probably turn around the extended universe. I highly doubt they'll bring Tim Burton back, but, you know, that's just an idea. I think personally, you know, Tim Burton could save the DC extended universe if, you know, given that option. I think he might take up on that option if they say to him, you know, we want you to, you know, do this Batman film, we want you to do this. I think Tim Burton probably would. It could potentially, but I'm just, like I said, it could, you know, with how the Batman and Batman Returns was, you know, like I said, they're the two really good Batman films. I mean, you know, they were dark, you had the, you know, they were just outstanding with them films. You know, the two of the best films. Obviously, like I said, the Christopher Nolan trilogy is nothing compared to those films. In a sense, you know, Tim Burton's all in his late 50s, so, you know, if they give him that option, I think Tim Burton probably could pull off. I mean, personally, what I'd feel that could work is, right, you're right, this is an idea. It's not going to happen, obviously, but it's just an idea which I think could work. Obviously, you have Tim Burton on as director, bring Jared Leto back as the Joker, have Margaret Robbie as Harley Quinn, so you have it as those, and then obviously Batman, whoever Batman is, obviously they'd have to, if it was still we'll say Ben Affleck for now. If it was still Ben Affleck, you have Ben Affleck, and then you have a storyline that revolves around Joker and Harley Quinn. You've got that, and then you have some side characters to the side. I don't know. You could bring the Riddler into it. You could have Catwoman there with Batman, or you could bring Black Canary into it. If you want to link it in with Birds of Prey, and you have a storyline. You could have you could have a storyline where obviously this obviously happens in the comics. You could have the Joker poisoning Gotham's water supply, or you could link in a lot of comic book material, or you could have it as the Joker decides to gas Batman and Batman goes crazy. Batman kidnaps Harley Quinn, and then the Joker's trying to track down Harley Quinn, and then there's a massive thing. Batman's gone insane. He's completely out of his mind. He just wants to kill everything. He's killing all the Joker's henchmen. You could go down that line, or you could go down another line where it's similar to that, where the Batman basically wants to stop the Joker one and for all, so he decides to poison himself with Joker toxins to try and stop Joker one for all. And it's obviously still goes down the same line as Batman kidnaps Harley Quinn from a bank robbery, a warehouse robbery, or whatever it is at the beginning of the film that goes wrong, and that's where it shows Batman injecting himself with the Joker toxin and then him going crazy. He first takes off Harley Quinn to Arkham Asylum, and then he locks her away, and then the Joker finds out that the warehouse thing went wrong, and it went wrong, and then he's going all crazy mad, and then he's trying to track down Harley Quinn, and then after finding out from one of his henchmen that the bank robbery went wrong, but he knows the person that the Joker's with, that came to him, said that look, this person knows who Batman is, la da 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 da. The Joker kills that person, and it moves on to the Joker going meeting this person, trying to torture him, getting out of him where Batman is, and then Batman comes in all crazy, and then he takes one of Joker's henchmen, kills him, chucks him out the window, whatnot. You could have him on his bat wing, whatnot, and he could, like in one of the comics where Batman hangs one of the Joker's henchmen dead in the air, you could use that in the film as a comic book effect to show that, that Batman's gone crazy. And then obviously Batman, because, he's inhaled with the Joker toxins, it could then go on to kidnap Harley Quinn once again from Arkham, because obviously that's where Joker's found out, she's in Arkham, we didn't try this, so they've gone to Arkham. So Batman's rushed off to Arkham, he's kidnapped Harley Quinn, he's taken her from Arkham, he's kidnapped her, took her somewhere else, and then you could just follow it on like that. That's just an idea. Obviously, that's just an idea. Actually, that's an idea. That's a script I'm currently writing. Actually, I just put that out there. Yeah, that's similar to a script which I'm writing. Which, if you've seen my social media or whatnot, if you've seen my Instagram or whatnot, you would have seen posts up about the Joker script that I'm writing. That's kind of similar to what I'm currently doing. Obviously, that's just a little detail. It's not too detailed, it doesn't go into too much. There's quite a lot of other stuff like flashbacks that'll happen, the Joker and Harley Quinn together, once the Joker's tracking down Harley Quinn, there's all that other mess, and you could put that into it. But I think that would be a really good film. This obviously, what I think, like I said, I'm scripting it, so it's just an idea that I put out there, which I think personally would work well. And then I had a couple of ideas, that I just threw out there with the script that I'm writing, that you could kill Harley Quinn off. I had that idea, at the end of that film, which, I'm scripting, which I've already just said about, which I think would work well, with Tim Burton on board, and, Jared Leto and Margaret Robbie as the Joker and Harley Quinn. I came up with a couple of ideas for the ending. You could have Batman and the Joker, a massive theme park, or Joker's Funland, or whatever you want to do with it. Batman and the Joker could be at the top of a roller coaster. Batman's got Harley Quinn, she's tied up on, I don't know, she's tied up on the roller coaster or whatnot. Batman and Joker are fighting at the top of they're having a massive fight at the top of the roller coaster along it or whatnot. And then Harley Quinn, I don't know, she could get loose, and then she falls, she falls to her death. The Joker jumps after her. That's another idea. Well, I had a couple of ideas. You had Harley Quinn. She falls because she's strapped down, and she's trying to get loose, but then she accidentally falls, and then basically falls to her death. But then I had another idea with Joker and the Batman at the top, the fighting on the roller coaster. Just imagine it, you got the Joker, you got the Batman, at the top, the fighting. You got Harley Quinn strapped down to the roller coaster. Harley Quinn could get loose. She pushes the Batman out of the way. He like jumps onto the other side of the track into the whatever it is, and you could just jump onto the other side of the track. And then the Joker, really annoyed, he thinks, there's things going through his head, he doesn't know what's happening, he thinks that Harlequin's left him, because Poison Ivy's in it, Poison Ivy saying, oh yeah, like this or not, because these people that he's met, that he's killed, have like put things in his head that that Harlequin's not good enough for him and all this, so he's got all these things in mind. And so the Joker, out of instinct, pushes her off the roller coaster. So there was that idea as well. Or I had a third idea where Batman, because he's still got the Joker toxins in him and is still mad, pushes Harlequin off the roller coaster. It's like it's in slow motion. You see Harlequin fall and it's in slow motion. The Joker jumps after her and then they could both fall to the death. Or it's the same as that, but instead of them falling to the death, there's like this Joker like fun thing at the bottom which they land onto, and there's different options you can take it. I'm just spitting some options out there. There's a lot of things which you could go down for that, but I think that's a really good idea. That's something which it's just my own idea. Hopefully it doesn't get stolen now. Once it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't get stolen and they use that idea. But I've already scripted it, so they can't use that idea because I've got that idea, so there is that option. But I think, yeah, like I said, the DC Extended Universe, it's a mess. It really is. I don't know how Warner Brothers are going to sort it out. This Batman film could redeem it. The Joker film coming in October could redeem it. Birds of Prey obviously, I think personally it might flop, but everyone loves Harlequin at the moment. It's popular, so it might not flop, but we'll just have to see when it comes around to the time. But I personally think it's not going to do too well, especially with no Joker there, so we'll just have to see how that goes. So I hope you've enjoyed this first episode to the Wonder Dream podcasts. So I'd like, if you've got free time to review, I hope you enjoyed it. I did babble on about a couple of bits, but I just wanted to get the topics in there, and get my own personal opinions on top of stuff which critics have said and other things and other material that I found online. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I will be doing these as a weekly thing. I might do 2 or 3 a week for the talk show whilst you're waiting on the horror podcast audio stuff, which I'm currently finishing scripting. So that's for the campaign. So you can check the campaign out if you want, donate and help out and contribute. That would be wonderful. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed next week's episode, or I might upload another one this week whenever this one gets uploaded. You might have 2 this week or just this one. Next week's episode, I think I'm gonna go into the Joker scripts which I'm writing, because I think a lot of people after reading this will be like, oh, if they like the idea that I've come up with. I think I'm currently scripting it at the moment. I'm about 40 pages in, so I think I'm gonna go into that a bit more in the next episode, and I will delve into that, give you ideas of what's happening, what I'm doing with it and all that, so you can stay tuned. And then I do also have other current plans for future episodes, which will be on the Child's Play remake film, also doing a podcast on remakes within Hollywood. I've got a couple of ideas out there, so there's going to be quite a lot of podcasts on different subjects, but I want to keep some of them horror related, so it relates to the horror audio scripted stuff that I'm doing for the campaign. So I'll just mix and match things up. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. So it's been a lengthy podcast, but I just wanted to get quite a lot of stuff through for this first podcast, so you can get an idea of what I'm going to be doing and how things are going to plan out. So once again, thank you for listening if you've listened all the way to the end of this podcast. So stay tuned, and there will be a next episode very shortly.